Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. I'm Bill Horan, along with my co-host, Nassau Community College student Matt Leonard. Coming to you live once again via Zoom and being socially distant as recommended.
Today we're going to learn about the American Kennel Club, a non-profit organization that considers itself experts in breed, health, and training information for dogs, who advocates for responsible dog ownership and is dedicated to advancing dog sports.
Let's learn more by welcoming to the show our guest, Alan Fausel, the Executive Director and CEO of the American Kennel Club Museum of the Dog. Alan, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC.
Well, thanks for having me.
Alan, first question I wanted to ask you, how have you made it through this pandemic for the past 6 or 8 or 10 months that we've all been going through it? Has it affected your life or your operation?
Well, we all shut down around March 16th, I think, is when the official shutdown was, and we sort of waited. I thought it was going to be a month or so, but it continued on. But we were able to apply for PPP funds, so I saved my staff, at least the full-time staff, and we sort of just shifted gears. We started putting a lot of online material from our education department, and also we opened an online store, and that's been fairly successful. Keeps a little trickle of income coming in, but it helped force us to do that. We had planned on that, but all of a sudden realized, well, might as well put our resources in that direction. And so we were pretty much ready. We have a lot of innovative safety procedures. You could go online. We have a great video for that. We brought in a lot of ultraviolet light and other, cleaning products. We have a lot of touch screens, so we use styluses that people can borrow. And we have little paw prints, which give you the direction for social distancing.
Very cute. I like that. It's amazing all the great ideas we hear that people have come up with. And the one I like especially the best is being the person who, sat in the doctor's office for an hour. Now when I go in, I barely get to sit in the chair and they call my name and I go right in. I don't have to be patient any longer because they want you in and out and not hanging around. So to me, that's the best one.
Tell us, Alan, what's the mission of the American Kennel Club?
Well, we're the American Kennel Club Museum of the Dog. We're an affiliate of the American Kennel Club, and we're a 501c3, and we've been in existence since 1982. It's spent 30 years out in St. Louis, and we brought it back 2 years ago to New York. And it's the best collection of dog painting and sculpture probably in the world. And one of the things that we follow the AKC and their mission is that we want to teach people about breeds, about dogs, about their the purpose-bred dog, and also about responsible pet ownership, the different charities we have, canine health, and other aspects as well.
What are some of the services that the club offers?
Well, the club offers a lot of things, but the museum basically is here to promote and give information about dogs through the history of dogs, through objects and documents that we have here.
So if someone doesn't currently have a dog, do you guys, the American Kennel Club, offer ways for someone to adopt or purchase a puppy or a dog?
Well, the AKC itself has a marketplace, which has a number of breeders who post their dogs there. And also we have a grading system for the different breeders and what they have. But also one of the things what I tell you is that people don't realize, as far as an AKC breeder, when you get your dog, you have a contract with that breeder, and they ask you a lot of questions. They have a lot of responsibilities, but they also say that the breeder will take the dog back at any time during its life. And most people don't know that, and that's one of the parts of being a responsible breeder. But also because of that, we have the largest rescue network in the country, because each of the 195 recognized breeds has a rescue association.
Alan, that's amazing, that part. So I'm just going to pivot for a section and follow up on Matt's question. So if a person gets a dog from a breeder and 4 years later they have to move to a different, maybe from a home to a facility or to a apartment where pets aren't allowed, or for whatever reason, I guess, the breeder has to take the dog back?
The breeder will take the dog back. Yes, that's part of the contract. And they don't take it, they generally don't keep them. It's not their permanent home, but they can then repurpose the dogs to another family and or distribute it. And because they're in that, if people are in the market for that breed, they will have a list of people who they would be able to go to.
That's really so smart. This is, again, one of those great ideas when you think of it, because if someone breeds, I have a Havanese dog. Mm-hmm. So if someone breeds them, they know more about them. They would take care of them. And if someone like myself passed away or was living in a unit where pets aren't allowed or just couldn't handle keeping a pet anymore, that's really a very thoughtful and a win-win for both sides. So I never knew about that already. We've learned something, as we do with every show. Now tell me, what about your background brought you to your current position? And then I'm going to tell you a funny view I had when I was thinking of this question. But how does somebody get to be the head person, the director and CEO of the American Kennel Club Museum of the Dog?
Well, it started about 1998 or so. I put together a sale of dog paintings, an auction that with Bonhams and Doyle in New York auction house and Bonhams an English auction house, and we did it in conjunction for 5 years, and then I continued to do it on my own with Bonhams when they moved to New York. So I did it for about 16 years, and each year we had a Bark Fest, a breakfast during Westminster Kennel Club Week on Sunday mornings, and there was a charity breakfast, and the money would go to the American Kennel Club, their humane fund. And so I was very familiar with the people at the American Kennel Club, and I had appraised their collection as well. And so when they decided to move, they called me in, they ostensibly to do an appraisal, but then they basically told me they needed somebody to help move the collection, but then also be the director when it moved in. We opened in 2019. Basically, I joke that I was a short list of one.
I was going to ask you that. Is that, we all hear a position of prominence, and I often wonder, is it really what we think it is? With yours, I just pictured that prior to being offered this position, each day when you came into work, like 9 or 10 of the dogs followed you. They all obviously loved you. And in quotes, by a vote of the population, namely the dogs running around your office, you were the one selected because you were Mr. Popularity among the spaniels and the mutts and every other dog that runs around. So
it wasn't so much the dogs themselves, but the paintings that were surrounding me.
Now, do you actually take part when they do have the Westminster? We know of that in New York, and it's usually 2 nights on TV that interrupts our TV schedule. But do you have some role in that, or do you have exhibits there or something to do with it?
I generally attend, but what I've been doing here last 2 years is I put something in focus that is from the collections that we have. Last year we put a show together, a mini show of the 13 best in show winners that we have depicted in sculptures and paintings and trophies that we have in the collection.
And Matt?
Now, you already mentioned to us that the Museum of the Dog is full of all these sculptures and paintings and wonderful artworks of dogs, but what would you say, what more can you tell us? Like, what is the museum all about?
Well, one of the things about it is we have some of the best interactive digital touchscreens and things such as that. You have a touch screen where you can take a photograph of yourself and then find out which dog you look like. It does face recognition and identifies what dog you would look like. And we have 2 tables where you can, on a touch screen, learn about all the aspects of the 195 different breeds. We have you can train a virtual dog that recognizes your voice command and your visual movement. We took a dog out in Los Angeles, put it into a motion capture suit, and filmed it, from 360 degrees, so the dog responds to your commands. So it's really it's one of the things. Before we opened, one of my board members was concerned with the digital elements are going to overpower the collection, but it works out very well that people bounce between the old paintings and the new digital works.
Now, with these touchscreens, I've been to museums recently during the pandemic where they give you a stylus where you have to touch all the screens. Do you guys have something similar like that so there's less spread of, I guess, bacteria?
I'd mentioned that earlier. That's one of the things we put together is a stylus, and then we have them and they're sanitized. We have basically a little UV oven they go into.
Oh, that's perfect.
Alan, by the way, just for our listeners and obviously for ourselves too, physically speaking, where is the Museum of the Dog?
We're 2 blocks south of Grand Central Station, or Grand Central Terminal as it's rightly known. And it's, if you know New York, it's where Park goes from a bridge to a tunnel.
Okay. Now, I think you have an exhibit running now called Presidential Dogs. And tell us more about that, and then I have a follow-up question for you on that.
Well, we felt the presidential year was coming up. We have a couple of paintings here of presidential dogs. We have Millie and a letter from Barbara Bush, and we have Barney and Miss Beasley, George Bush's dogs. And then what we did was we have a lot of archival material, photographs from the presidential libraries, et cetera, documents, pedigrees, et cetera, that we put on display. And then we tried to focus it not so much about each president, but around the different breeds. And you find out which breeds are popular at which time, and how the presidential office influenced the breed and how the breed influenced the presidents.
Now, can people see this virtually, or do they have to come to the museum to see it?
Right now, we have you basically have to come to the museum. We have some things we put on social media, and recently an interview as well with an author about the Kennedy dogs, Peggy Reed, the dogs of Camelot, and we're thinking about putting a virtual tour together. We just opened less than a month ago.
Now, people tell you what your personality is like by the day you were born, and the stars and the food you eat, etc. We've had different kinds of people as a radio show host over the years. Does the type of dog a person wants tell us a lot about them, or does that give us insight into their personality?
Not necessarily by specifics. What we focus on is what type of breeds, and you'll find that if somebody is an outdoorsman, they might have more sporting dogs. If somebody's more of an person, they might have more terriers. But they go back and forth. They don't. There are many people have many different dogs. The Kennedys had 9 dogs, I think, over his lifetime. Roosevelt had about 8 or 9, and so did Teddy Roosevelt. So some had many, many dogs, and so you can't really pin them down to that. What we did try to focus on is what breeds were popular and when, and how you see them showing up at the White House.
Matt?
I just want to remind our audience you're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Matt Leonard alongside Bill Horan, and today we're learning about the American Kennel Club, a non-profit organization that considers itself experts in breed, health, and training information for dogs, who advocates for responsible dog ownership and is dedicated to advancing dog sports, with our guest, Alan Fausel, the Executive Director and CEO of the American Kennel Club Museum of the Dog. Now, Alan, can you tell us how COVID-19 has changed the way you guys operate at the American Kennel Club and the Museum of the Dog?
Well, as I said, we have put together different directional things. As I mentioned, we have paws, to tell you where to go, and we have styluses and others. But we've also ramped up a lot of our online experiences. We have Pause to Read, where we have one of our people reading children's books. We've had online bingo, anything we can try to put together. We're looking at virtual tours. I sort of like the people to have come here, but and I don't want to really have people pay for a tour, but that has been requested.
Alan, there are so many dog lovers in the world, and people who are really they build their life around their dog. And I like to tell people that my dog trains me every day. And now she's got me knowing just what she likes, how she wants to be treated in the morning, when she wants to go out for a walk. So she's done an excellent job of training me. The other way around, not so well. I don't think I'm doing much of a job. But do you accept volunteers? Do dog lovers want to work there? Is that a goal of some of them?
We do have a staff of volunteers. We've put that program on abeyance right now, just because of the COVID-19. We aren't doing personal tours because if you have a group of 5 people or 10 people, you don't want them all packed together. And a lot of our volunteers are they're a little older in age, so they're probably people who probably shouldn't necessarily be interacting that much. It's up to them, obviously, but it's probably best it's best to err on the side of prudence.
Of course, and yes. Is it usually older people who look for this position, or do you get, for instance, a college student who might be a pet lover or thinking of going into a pet-related field?
We get some of both, and we had a volunteer intern over the summer who helped a lot, but she wants to go out and get a real job. So I think that's one of the issues is that you tend to have volunteers who are older because they will be there year to year to year and have more longevity. But no, we certainly aren't averse to having younger people as well. But it's when they can fit their schedules in.
So if Matt and I both apply, I'm going to get the job, right?
Oh no, not necessarily. We'll take it. It's just it's just you. They end up being here a lot longer.
No, I got you. No, that's good, Matt.
You guys do such great work at the American Kennel Club and the Dog Museum, but how is the American Kennel Club funded, and can people make donations?
Well, the museum is funded in part by memberships, and we certainly have a lot of donations from individual donations. We've had a capital campaign, and also corporate donations. We were able to get Blue Buffalo. I don't know if you know them, but the dog food company and pet products. It was named after Blue, and the Bishop family gave us $1 million to support our gallery, and we have a couple programs with the Morris Animal Fund and also the Canine Health Fund, the AKC Canine Health Fund, where we're doing lectures and programs on canine cancer because Blue passed away of canine cancer, but that's who they named the company after.
Matt, how is the club, the American Kennel Club, funded? Where does that money come from?
Well, the American Kennel Club, you're in an area I'm not as familiar with because I'm with the museum. The American Kennel Club gets money from its registrations and its activities, events, a variety of different ways, and donations as well. But there's you have to talk really more to our Kennel Club people.
Now, we hear about the, quote, responsible breeder. And what should we look for when we're purchasing a dog? And what does that responsible breeder, quote, really mean?
Again, it's more of the American Kennel Club, but they do have different levels of breeders of merit and others. But again, they are responsible for the dog's health, registering them, keeping up with the different maladies and afflictions, making sure that the dogs are all taken care of. And also, like I said, have a contract, make sure they go to good homes. One of the things from our presidential dogs is Liberty, the golden retriever that went to Gerald Ford, was given to him by the White House press photographer and his daughter Susan. And they went to visit a breeder, and she had all sorts of questions about the owner, and they were sort of sworn to secrecy because of security concerns. And so he said, well, does he have a job? And is he responsible? And they finally said, does he live in an apartment or a house? And she finally said, well, he lives in a big white house with a fence around it.
And you made a great point before, and I know when I got my dog, the dog came with the shots. They were very thorough about telling us so that they seem to be, at least from my 1 or 2 interactions, very responsible as breeders, etc. And it's good we have a umbrella organization above watching out for it. Matt?
So at the Museum of the Dog, you guys have the Presidential Dogs exhibit now, like you said. What is the next big, feature exhibit you guys have planned if you have one?
Yeah, our next one will be in January, and we'll have Hollywood dogs. We have a number of posters. It's actually Hollywood and cartoon dogs. We try to draw on the different fanciful aspects of the dogs. And we have a number of posters from famous movies and that had dogs like Old Yeller and Lassie, etc. But we also have some Charlie Brown Peanuts cartoons with Snoopy and other material that we were going to put out at that point.
Alan, can you tell us about some of the other events? Like, we know when we think of a museum, we walk through and we look at pictures, so to speak. But I'm sure there's much more to it, that events you're running, either fundraising events or just events to make people more aware of dog care, etc. So can you kind of give us an overview of that?
Sure, we have a number of things, and again, they're all sort of put on hold, but a lot of times we have Meet the Breeds, generally one a month or so, where we will feature a breed and we'll call on local breeders who have a certain breed. We had a very rare breed called the Chinook. It's the state dog of New Hampshire, and we had 9 Chinooks here, and so people could meet those dogs. We aren't open to the public for dogs because we have, for legal reasons, shots and other things like that, and also we're in an office building here, which don't have a big dog, run kind of aspect. But we do have dogs that are service dogs and dogs that are invited guests, such as the Meet the Breeds dogs. We also have a very successful group almost monthly with the New York Transit Police, the canine group. So they bring their sniffer dogs in and do a demonstration there. It's always a very popular demonstration. We do have Furry Fridays where you can come in. We stay open late, and if you register for the event in advance, you can bring your dog. We have up to 25 at that point. So those are some of the more exciting things. We again, we'll have lectures and book signings, and sometimes we have trick dogs, and just a variety of different things. We have we hope to have we did last year an unveiling of Stubby, the World War I dog, and we're hoping to have a larger event for dogs in war and peace, which comes up next May. And during Fleet Week, we're going to have a lot of veterans groups here, etc. We're going to be focusing really on not so much the dogs of war, but dogs of peace, and how the dogs themselves and also the veterans come back and how they cope, and how dogs help them cope as well.
And I've heard, first of all, I have to say, I love Meet the Breeds and Furry Fridays. I think you've got some great ideas there. Your marketing, I don't know if you're the marketing department, but I think that's very cute and a great way for people to probably see. We all see a dog and say, oh, she's cute. But is that really a good dog for us? Maybe based on our age, where we live. I like the introductions when they show them on the Westminster. They say this frisky fella must be properly introduced before he'll take to someone. And I imagine that means you're going to get bit if you put your hand down before he says, I want to meet you. But I think those are some very interesting activities that you have for the people, and probably very worthwhile before they spend their money and get a dog, if that's not really going to be a good fit.
Well, you mentioned something that I said when I first took this job, and I understood the importance of having an outward-facing part of the American Kennel Club. American Kennel Club is up on the 5th floor. We're in the same building, but you see them really only episodically, either with the Westminster show or our American National Championship, which airs on January 1st, or the national, the Philadelphia show, which generally airs on Thanksgivings. And I recall once going at Thanksgiving, seeing my brother's, my niece, my brother's daughter, and her friends, a whole gaggle of them surrounding the TV. And I realized it was just that. They wanted to have some more information, and what they were getting, they saw the dog, but they're hanging on the 15 seconds. The Brittany is as fun in the field as it is and happy at the home. It needs energy and a lot of walking. The number 23, the Brittany Spaniel. So that kind of just that little snippet was what they were interested in. Well, here we have that 24/7 basically, or 365. We're out here every day. We have a 4,000 volume library. We have dogs coming in. We have our Meet the Breeds tables. So you get all the information you need or want right here.
And I like the way you put that. People, one, it's great that people have that opportunity because, as you said, that little snippet, and then you have to translate it a little bit from publicity talk. What does that mean? That means the way they word it. A certain dog will eat your couch if you don't get their dinner there at the right time.
Right.
This fellow likes to stay on schedule and is very demanding. Yeah, we know what that means.
Yeah.
Or you better have a lot of room because when he or she wants to go out, you better be walking them or they're going to have their way. So,
yeah, you'll see that in New York. And I always was fascinated when you see people, who have a border collie in the city. This is a dog that you probably, I'm sure you can, if you have enough time to exercise them, but a lot of times you need, several acres for a border collie.
Matt?
Now, one question I had for you, because you mentioned earlier the next exhibit, the Hollywood dogs with the cartoon dogs and other dogs in famous movies. Do you have a personal favorite of these dogs? Like, is there a movie that you really enjoy that has a dog in there, a cartoon dog that you really like?
Well, in the movies, I think
it's good.
A rather stunning movie recently. It's called Togo, and it's on Disney Plus. It came out in last December. I think you can still get it streaming. So, it basically tells the story of the Gnome Serum Run, where they were sort of iced in and they couldn't get the serum for a diphtheria outbreak. And this dog, Togo, ran about 250 miles on the 600-mile relay. Balto is very famous. He's a bronze from that same serum run, but he was the one who ran the last 50 miles and showed up for the photo op. But Togo really tells the story of a man and his dog and the relationship, the canine-human bond. And I think it was really one of the more touching movies, more explanatory movies about how dogs and humans react.
Alan, when you're dealing with people, although it may not be kind of an officially museum question, as a dog person, do dogs suffer during this pandemic? If they're stuck in the house and maybe the owner doesn't want to go outside or is not comfortable, do they bark excessively, or there's some tricks as a dog person you can tell us that we can accommodate them better?
Well, I think it's not so much being at home, because I think they're very happy when you're at home. I think they're going to find they're going to have some separation anxiety when you start leaving. They've been sort of retrained to having somebody there, somebody around. That was probably first couple of weeks might have been an issue, but now it's when people start going back, these dogs have to now retool themselves to being alone. And so I think that's going to be the biggest challenge.
Please tell us how people can get in touch with you and get more information about the Museum of the Dog.
Well, I would go to the website is museumofthedog.org. We're on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So you can find out about us or just come on down to 40th and Park.
Alan, we want to thank you so much and let our audience know that today we've been speaking with Alan Fausel. He's the Executive Director and CEO of the American Kennel Club Museum of the Dog.
Thanks, you.
We wish you good luck, and thanks so much for being with us on the show. I'd like our audience to know that I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Matt Leonard, and we thank you for listening to this week's special edition of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to WHPC@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.